Good morning, everybody. I'm here to kind of talk about the crime statistics, or not crime statistics, but the calls for service. In general, VSO had in 2025 about 260,000 calls for service in total in our jurisdictional areas. For this district, in which the city resides, which is District 4, you had exactly 73,749 calls for service that were handled during that time. The other reason I'm here today is to kind of touch on some of the technology that we have going on in the 911 Communications Center, one of which we call Live 911. So Live 911 is a software program that the patrol units have in their vehicles. They have the ability to listen into live 911 calls as the calls are in the center. They cannot interject into those calls, but they're listening into what's happening, and it's cut down on the response time. So instead of, before we got live 911, what would happen is if a 911 call came in, we would have call takers handle that call. They would put it into the computer system, and the call would be shipped up to a dispatcher who then would start patrol units. Now, this program has successfully cut down the amount of response time with our patrol units, because as soon as that 911 call comes in, they hear the call being relayed right into their patrol vehicles. So they don't need to wait to be dispatched by the dispatcher. We've had quite a few success stories, I think within the first week or so that we got the program. Units were on scene of a infant drowning and saved the life of the infant before the call even got out over the radio. So that's a great success story in itself. The other programs that we have going on for technology is we have artificial intelligence that is handling our non-emergency calls. By having AI, it's called AVA, by having the AI program handle our non-emergency calls, it's allowing my call takers to focus on 911 calls. It's kind of getting them off having to interrupt their 911 calls to answer non-emergency calls. So we did a hard launch of this program on August 1st of this year. During that time, the program's handled approximately 122,000 calls for non-emergency calls for service. Of those 122,000 calls, 35% of those calls were transferred into a dispatcher for various reasons. Sometimes it's just caller preference. People want to speak to a live person. Other times the program is intuitive enough to detect an emergency even if the caller doesn't think they have an emergency. So it picks up on an emotion in somebody's voice, it picks up on key terms, and will transfer it into a live person. I do want to point out that this program in itself is not your typical program where you call in and you have to press a corresponding number to get what you want. When we built out the program, it's very conversational. We sat down with the company, they asked us the call types that we use and what questions we would correspond with those call types. So the computer now is doing it. So you can have a full-on conversation with the computer and it already knows what to do. The reason this is so important to us is because it's a force multiplier. It can handle as many calls coming into the center as coming into the center. So it could be if you suddenly got swamped with calls, this program will handle it, whereas when you have personnel manning those phones, you only have so many personnel. So even if they're handling a non-emergency call, they're putting that caller on hold to answer a 911 call. It's frustrating for the call taker, and it's frustrating for the public. So now it's getting our personnel back and focusing on the 911 call. And just since August 1st, we've seen a positive decrease in the amount of time it's taking us to answer those phone calls by about 3%. Let's see. The top 10 calls that we had just since August 1st, if you look at the top 10 calls that the system has processed, we had callers calling in just wanting to speak to an officer about how to handle something. They didn't have a case necessarily going on, or they wanted to leave a message for a specific officer. We had people calling in to get information about following up for their case. And then another big call type for us are tow companies that call in when they're repossessing a vehicle or impounding a vehicle and towing it away from private property. And when you add just those 3 call types together, it's handled 8,000 calls that historically a person would have had to be handling, as opposed to just handling the 911 calls that, we want them focused on. So. Nobody lost their job. That was a big thing. The unknown, people are always afraid when you're bringing new technology, and especially AI. I mean, it's a huge buzzword in, I think, just about every industry. So that was a concern of my personnel, but nobody lost their job. In fact, what it actually allowed us to do is to have less people manning those phones, because this is now handling our non-emergency calls, and it's allowing me to pick up personnel and put them through training faster and get them out of training faster. So just by doing that, we've also, along with a couple other initiatives that we've done, we've cut down training hours by 500 hours per person, per trainee in 2025. So.
Very good. Thank you, Karen.
All right, thank you.
Todd, you touch those schools?
Absolutely. I'm Captain Smith, the Director of Safety and Security for Volusia County Schools and also the Commander of the Youth Services Section. So this year we've conducted 72 random metal detector screenings throughout the district. Basically that's where we have the kids step out of the class and walk them through a metal detector to make sure that they don't have any weapons on them. We have metal detectors up and running at 6 of our 10 high schools. The only thing that we're waiting on for the last 4 high schools is production. They just got to send them to us. We haven't found any weapons in any of our screenings. K9 Maverick has checked 196 classes for firearms this school year. We haven't found any. All schools have been upgraded to the new Meraki camera system. That project was actually slated to end in 2028, and we completed it 3 years ahead of schedule. We just finished our halfway point for the school year, and at this time last school year, we were at 25 arrests for written threats to kill. This year, we're at 18, a 28% reduction. Last year, we had 659 4-5 Florida tips at this time. This year, we're at 304, a 53% reduction. And this one's very exciting. Last year, we recovered 28 weapons at this point. This year, we're at 8, a 71% reduction in weapons recovered throughout the district. For Deltona specifically, we had 1 recovered at High Banks Learning and 1 at Deltona High School. So that's in the city of Deltona. Those are the 2 that we had. No firearms have been recovered either last school year or this school year. Another thing that's super exciting for us is K9 Maverick went back to school to learn how to do tracking. So if you have a missing child, he can then deploy to track that kid and try to find them. Recently, we were one of 3 counties in the entire state that was awarded the Campus Guardian Angel Drone Pilot Program. It's got a super long name. Basically, they put a bunch of drones in the school, and then if there's a threat, those drones launch. They can travel 30 to 50 miles per hour indoors, up to 100 miles per hour outside. The goal is to confront a threat within 15 seconds. The drones have lights on them, sirens, and then pepper balls so that they can disorient any kind of a threat until law enforcement can get there and eliminate that threat. And one of the questions that we ran into with that program is, what if the person's inside a room? Well, there's multiple drones and they'll line them up, run them through the window, make a hole, and then go in and disorient that threat from that point forward. So we're super excited about that. I got some information recently. The program is going to do 1 school in Volusia County. The time frame that it'll be up and running is still to be determined, and then we'll have to figure out what school that is. We haven't picked that and worked through the logistics on how to implement that program and see what the pros and cons are and how effective it is.
How many high schools in Deltona, Pine Ridge, and Deltona, do they have metal detectors?
Pine Ridge has metal detectors. The next school to be implemented is Deltona High School. We're looking at the middle of January for shipping of them. Now, they've changed the dates multiple times on us, so that's not a guarantee. We haven't sent communications out to the parents yet or anything like that, because, we don't want to get everybody in the mental mindset that this is coming, and then it doesn't come, and, then we get complaints and stuff. So at this point, we're still waiting for them to be sent to us, and then once we've received the metal detectors, we'll start communicating with the parents, with the faculty, with our administrators. We'll have all of our resources put in place to start rolling out that project, ensuring that we know where we're going to put them, that we start training the kids, keep your backpack on, hold your Yeti mug or whatever you got in front of you, the logistics on it, and start that process all up again.
What about the behavioral assessment unit that you started in the school year?
So this school year, last year we had over 900 fortified Florida tips. So this year the sheriff created a behavioral threat unit, and basically what the concept is that as an individual has a grievance or a student has a grievance in one of our schools, that we identify that, we get the resources in place, we evaluate all the circumstances around it, and then we try to redirect that grievance towards us so that we basically befriend them, and then start working out the processes so that they're no longer a threat to the schools or whoever it is that they've been threatening, and try to get the resources in place to ensure that everybody's safe. It is, yeah. So the unit is based on the principles from the U.S. Secret Service. So they put out a guide, I believe it was in 2024. The Police Executive Research Forum recommended that agencies have this unit. Once we started looking into it and doing the research from all of that, then we modeled ours directly off of theirs. We went down to Pinellas County and a couple other counties, looked at their behavioral threat units and how they ran them. And then from there, it's actually expanded since the inception. So it's in the SIS section now, and they're running with it.
Great job. Yep. I appreciate you saying I started that unit. You're right there. No.
You said we could do it.
I just approved the funding, so. Omar, you ready to rock and roll?
Absolutely, Sheriff. Captain Omar McKnight, I'm the commander here in Deltona, which is District 4. We'll start off with our year-to-date numbers, since we have now closed 2025. For our reported crime, we are up in some categories. For persons crimes, we're up 21.6%. For property crime, we're up 6.7%. And total crime, we're up 5% in District 4. But I will tell you, our clearance rates are very, very high, especially compared to the national average.
I think you got to explain, because we're going to be able to show the old numbers and how you do it. Under this new NIBRS fiber system, there's a reason why we have that increase.
Yes, sir. So fibers and NIBRS is more incident-based reporting versus just a call for service will be one incident. So the way it works now, I'll give you like a scenario. Let's say a guy breaks into a house, steals a TV. As they're walking out in the front yard, they pick up a lawn ornament, and then they hop in a car that's not theirs and steal it from the house. Traditionally, that would be reported as one incident, but now that's reported as 3 different incidents. That's a burglary, that's a theft, and also a stolen vehicle. So our numbers aren't just increasing because, we have a big uptick in crime. It's more of, that's why we have to report it, incident-based reporting.
So we're working on a report that will be able to compare last year to this year, basically on the numbers. Yeah, and on homicide and robbery, that's what we're working, as opposed to this thing, which screws everything. It throws off, it just sticks. We're up 5%. Well, that's the reason why, because that one burglary now is 3 other crimes attached to it.
And then if they stole a credit card and use that somewhere else, that's another one. So.
It's possible that one incident could have 7 or 8 crimes attached to it. So, but go ahead, talk about the clearance rate, because and go get into that.
Yes, our clearance rate for persons crimes is 84%, and property crime we're at 65%, and then total Group A crime is almost 80%, 79.76%. So our national average for persons crimes is 41%, so we're more than double the national average. It's 13% for property crime, we're at 65%, and then total Group A, it's 23% is the national average, and we're at 79.76%. So that's more than triple the national average. I'm going to go over some stats for our traffic unit, because obviously the big complaint we get here in Deltona is traffic. For the year to date, we handled 1,400 crashes here in Deltona. We issued just over 13,000 citations. We had a total of 6 THI callouts with 2 fatalities for the year.
THI meaning
Traffic homicide, correct. We had, from complaints from the city and also emails to the sheriff, we had the city conduct 12 traffic studies for us, and we did 20 steps, which is selective traffic enforcement, where we pick a specific time and place, and we do traffic enforcement in that area, and then report back to whoever the complainant is. We had 20 of those for the year. So we hit it pretty hard with traffic, and I think it's showing. We're getting, I think, less complaints now for traffic. So get into the crime for the month.
Let's jump right into the homicides, because I want to talk about the number. We had 5 homicides in the city this year. All 5 are solved. Well, the 5th one's going to be solved, but let's talk about the recent one.
Yeah, so we had 5 homicides in the city of Deltona during 2025. 4 of those have been cleared. There is still 1 active, and Lieutenant Cobb will kind of give a breakdown of that one.
Nice shirt on.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you. Always try to dress to impress. So the homicide from Christmas night came out early in the evening, Christmas night. It's an active case, so I'm going to kind of glaze over the facts, but give you a quick overview. We responded to multiple 911 calls for shooting on El Campo. Deputies respond, and they find an unresponsive juvenile on the ground. Life-saving efforts are performed, and he passes away. It was a very, very quick response by patrol. They get some intel coming in from the calls of people running from the scene, so on and so forth. They end up apprehending a subject who's going to be our primary suspect in the homicide. Within a few moments, we recovered a handful of firearms, which go all the way down to Hillsborough County, have links to burglaries down in Hillsborough County. We've identified all parties involved. We're actively getting the case prepared for prosecution, but our technology that the sheriff has implemented in the county benefited us greatly, and it allowed us to resolve this in about 72 hours, where we had every person identified, every gun identified, all of the origins of every gun identified, and prepared to start moving forward with prosecution. So
Your investment in the tag readers was invaluable. Invaluable. That's what really leads to everything that falls into place in hours and hours, because of those tag readers led us to where we needed to go.
yeah, to kind of double down on that is there was a suspect vehicle involved in this homicide that we were able to identify through on-scene witnesses, immediately get our VC3, our analysts working on it, utilize the tag readers, track the car that was used in the homicide to Hillsborough County, and timestamp it all the way down I-4 to I-75. So
We knew when it came in and when it left, and they were only here.
they made record time back to Hillsborough County. They were here.
They were only in the city.
Oh, they were only in the city
12
15
minutes?
15 minutes, 12 minutes. And then they were out, and they were back in Hillsborough County in about an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 22 minutes.
So it's amazing technology, and they ran right through this thing with like within 30 hours they had the whole thing put together. So now it's just a matter of going to the state attorney's office, and we talked offline about the stuff we'll release later on. So.
All right, let's go into crime for the month of December. First crime that we have is a aggravated assault at 939 Hollywood Boulevard. Our victim was at her house in DeLand, and she was picked up by her friend that she knows as T. That's all she gave us. And they rode around for a little while, got here in Deltona, and then some things happened in the car. She was allegedly forced to do some sexual things, and then she was able to get free from him and then get a hold of 911, and then we picked it up from there. I'll let CID kind of touch on this case.
Good morning. I'm Sergeant Johnson. I'm the CID Sergeant for District 4. T has been identified as Robert Johnson in criminal history of 12-3 and 12-2. When we got this case, quickly were able to locate his car because of the LPRs. He was stopped in the car, arrested on some drug charges. We are currently putting the case together for charging him with the other additional crimes on this. He's currently in custody right now.
For the domestic violence
Job,
period.
you guys with that. Good.
Thanks, sir. For the domestic violence, for this period, we had a total of 6 aggravated assaults. 5 of them were cleared by arrest. 1 of them, we applied for a warrant. The state denied it, so we filed it. We had 30 simple domestic violence cases. All 30 of them were cleared by arrest. We'll jump down to our property crimes.
Hold on one second. How are we making out with the, when you just talk about those domestic violence numbers, how are we making out with our victims advocate that we,
Yeah, so we have a full-time victim advocate now, and I think we're doing much better with contacting all of our victims in a timely manner. Before we had to split 3 districts, and one of them was Deltona. Now we've got a dedicated one here, and it's paying dividends for sure.
very good.
First burglary we have is 905 Abbey Terrace. This was an occupied residential burglary. This is the one we saw on the news with the 14-year-old that was home, and this Richard Cologne was inside her house. And deputies did a good job converging this house and getting him to come out. And he was taken into custody. This is cleared by arrest. Next case we have is 530 Bell Tower. This burglary. This is our victim allowed her grandson to stay at the house for a day or two. And when she came home, she noticed her safes were open and a gun and some the magazines were stolen. And CID took over this case.
Yeah, Detective Borbley handled this. He was able to get an arrest warrant for our suspect, Kendrick Graham. We know that Kendrick was in Daytona prior to us getting the arrest warrant for him. When he turned himself in at the jail a couple days after that, the firearm has not been located yet, though. It's still listed as stolen.
Next burglary we have is 2210 Iroquois Lane. Our victim left around 7 a.m. for work, returned home around 2 p.m. in the afternoon, found the house was broken into. The bedroom was ransacked, a firearm was stolen, approximately $30,000 in cash was allegedly stolen, and CID's got some good leads on this case.
Yeah, we've identified 2 possible suspects in this. It's still an active investigation, so I'm not going to identify them at this time, but we are currently working on getting them in custody.
It's worth to note that these are known associates. It's not like a random thing. We've got a burglary, 2969 Howland Boulevard at the Storeway Storage. I'll let CID kind of go into this case because we're probably going to be unfounding this, but I'll let them talk about it.
Yeah, this one's going to end up being unfounded. The victim in this case ended up being, later on the next page, a suspect in a burglary. He was living out of the storage unit without the consent of the storage facility, and he staged this because he got caught. The way the lock and stuff was manipulated, so it looked like it was locked when it was closed while they were living in it. So this one's going to be unfounded.
Next case, burglary 915 Leeward Drive. This is a 3-week time lapse when the victim discovered his PlayStation and 3 watches that were missing, and CID's got this case.
Yeah, Detective Borbley is working this. We're still working on some leads on it. However, without serial numbers and stuff like that, he didn't register the PlayStation. So if you're a parent and you have these type of devices, make sure that they get registered with the people, because we can track them through that whenever the operating systems are turned on. But we're still working on this one.
Next, burglary 960 Prescott. This is the suspect we just talked about from the storage unit. He was invited into the home, but then he broke into a bedroom. That's why it's listed as a burglary. And he was tracked down, and this is cleared by arrest. Our last burglary, 3131 Tiburon Lane. This is the TikTok trend that we've talked about. We got an email on. The detectives are working on this, but this is where the dog got out and was unfortunately run over. But this is not a large-scale trend here in Deltona. We've had 3 for the entire calendar year of 2025, and the other 2 were solved I think they got some wind in their sails on this one as well.
Yeah, the detective, Richardson, he's working this, and there was a house party down the road from this, and several juveniles decided that they were going to do this TikTok trend. The main suspect in it is, we're still trying to identify him, but he should be identified shortly.
This burglary's not up there, but I think it's important to talk about the house party where the daughter invites the kids over, they steal the guns, and that becomes connected to the homicide as well.
Yeah, you want to start with the original case, just give a quick overview, and then I'll kind of link them together?
Yeah, so the father goes to Puerto Rico to visit, and when he returns home, he notices that his case with all of his firearms were missing from the house. Initially, we were looking at a 3-month time lapse, but it quickly got narrowed down because one of the firearms were recovered in a traffic stop in Orlando, where the individuals in that car, one of them, they had an arrest warrant for armed robbery in their jurisdiction over there. The 2 suspects that were eventually in our crime had one of the firearms on them. We were able to get arrest warrants for the 2 suspects in our case, and the other individual in the car is linked to the victim in this case.
Correct. So just to kind of reiterate what Captain McKnight said about it, a lot of these things aren't random. This homicide, again, was not random. This wasn't necessarily just somebody that lost their mind and went on a shooting spree. This was very connected to the city of Deltona. So one of the subjects that they identified in that burglary that occurred on Deltona Boulevard a few months prior, where a rifle was stolen, his name's Nate Figueroa. He has an active arrest warrant. We're actively trying to apprehend him. He's seen on video with the suspect in our homicide. We recover that rifle at our suspect's house, and we have we were able to connect the shell casings on scene to that gun. So this gun was stolen from a home where parents allowed their kid to have the home, and these people come over, they steal these guns. This gun floats around Deltona, and it's ultimately located immediately after a homicide, connected to the homicide and recovered. And it helped us build a case against our homicide suspect. And the guy that is responsible for stealing the gun is still outstanding but has an active warrant. He'll be taken in custody as soon as we can get our hands on him.
Which brings up, if you want to touch on the number of arrests we made this year and the number of people arrested out of county. And again, the caveat there.
Yes, sir. So for the year to date, we made 2,178 arrests here in Deltona. From those numbers, 268 of them are registered out of the county, like their ID or whatever is registered out of the county. So it's around 13% of the people arrested are not from Deltona.
So, and the other thing, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong here, this year we lost 26 guns stolen out of cars and 34 guns stolen from residences. And I will tell you, probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, over 50% or more are juveniles involved in these crimes that are taking these guns.
Yeah, I'd say a good portion are juvenile, but also a lot of the car burglaries and stuff that we have in Deltona that we end up identifying suspects do end up being individuals from Sanford or Orlando that are coming up and going on these crime sprees that result in these firearms being stolen.
Is it safe to say that if that gun would have never been stolen out of that home, that homicide could have been prevented?
No, that's not safe to say. that one gun was just a mechanism of, it was 1/6 of the mechanism of the homicide. There were 6 other guns recovered. There was more than one stolen gun out of these 6 recovered. That one particular gun was not the result of this homicide, nor was that theft this single trigger to it. However, it is of note to say that we're linking these stolen guns to homicides.
I'm just trying to figure out if there's a way we can kind of teach our residents better storage. Because I have a firearm, and it's in a safe, and only I have access to the code. So I don't know if there's something we can teach our residents on how to store their guns. I just can't see how a minor gets a gun.
They're stealing them.
Dan, you here? Gibberish? Yes. Talk about the guy who broke into 21 cars in Ormond and how many guns he got all unlocked, right?
Yeah, so I'm the district commander for the east side, and recently, over a span of a week, we had approximately, 23 cars broken into in a geographical area within 3 nights. And I think there was like 5 or 6 guns stolen out of unlocked cars, along with laptops and everything else that you can think of. Luckily, the last night that he decided to go out and try to skew everything and make problems for everybody, we caught him. And linked back, he was living out of a hotel in Ormond Beach, and he was a transit from Georgia, which we had previous contact with as a juvenile in the city of Daytona Beach, like 10 years ago. So, you know, it happens. People leave their cars unlocked. What's that? In his waistband. Yeah, he had a gun on him. He had a gun on him when we contacted him while he was out doing car burglaries. And so he's in jail, and we linked him to he was arrested for 22 counts of armed burglary, a whole bunch of thefts and things like that as well. So hopefully he won't see the light of day in Route 3 area.
One more, go ahead, sorry to cut you off.
All good. For this period, we had 2 domestic violence robberies. And again, the reason these are robberies is because a cell phone was stolen during the altercation. That's the only mechanism for the robbery, and these are both cleared by arrest. We'll jump down to a motor vehicle theft at 2372 Academy Avenue. Our victim reported her 2021 Nissan Rogue stolen from her driveway. She may have misplaced a second key fob, which is probably how they stole it. It was recovered, but I'll let COD kind of talk about how they linked 2 together.
Yeah, Detective Warbley had this case. Patrol did a good job, though, using the technology that we do have of locating this when these individuals were out driving around in the car. 2 individuals was arrested on this case. Stephen Bagley, 9/28/2006. His criminal history is 9 and 3 felonies, 5 and 1 on misdemeanors. Second subject in this was Damarion Smith, 5/27/2005, 5 and 0 on felonies, 6 and 0 on misdemeanors. And they had the key fob for this car. Their story was that they purchased it from somebody else. So, but
We had 1 robbery at 1720 Twin Oak Street. This was our victim allegedly was trying to sell some computer parts, and our defendant went there to retrieve them, and I guess there was some kind of robbery with a firearm. This defendant is James Santana, and he was arrested for the robbery. He's 6 and 0 on felonies and 6 and 0 on misdemeanors, so he's not a convicted felon, but he's got some criminal history.
and to note on that, the firearm that was used in that was also stolen.
We had a total of 6 shopliftings for this period. 5 of them were cleared by arrest. The other one, the detectives have this case, and they've got someone in their cells. This one's from the CVS on Howland Boulevard.
Yeah, Detective Warbley is working this. This one's going to be linked to a multi-jurisdictional all over the state. Basically what happens is they'll target these CVSs by distracting the clerks and stuff and stealing stuff behind the counter. We're working to get the suspects in this identified through the other jurisdictions and by our investigation. But we should have something where it probably will go statewide prosecution on this guy.
They're all covered up.
We had a theft of some mail. This defendant was walking around opening up mailboxes and taking mail out of people's mailboxes. We actually contacted him and arrested him. He does live in Deltona. It's a Scott Redmond. He's 6 and 2 on felonies and 21 and 2 on misdemeanors. We had a theft from a motor vehicle, 2840 Thornberry Court. This was on Christmas night into the day after Christmas in the morning. Unknown subjects entered her unlocked vehicle and stole $50 that was in cash in her wallet. And detectives have this case.
Yeah, Detective Richardson is working this one. There's 2 possible suspects in this, both of which have extensive criminal histories. One of them, his probation is listed at that house, and he currently has a warrant during the same time period for domestic violence in Orange City, so he's got an outstanding warrant for him, and his Marquise Gray. Other subject is Mr. Hightower. So we're still working on this one to try to get some leads on it to get them interviewed.
That's it on crime for this period, for the year. It was a very successful year for everybody. I'm looking forward to 2026.
I just want to point out to everybody that's in here, when you look at those clearance rates, the ability to solve a crime once it occurred, that's unheard of when you look around and talk to anybody else. And that's the work of all these folks back here and the folks that aren't in the room. And I can't thank them enough. The detectives, we'll talk about narcotics and what's going on with drugs in here. But the people assigned here, it's important to note they want to be here. We got a video coming out that we're working on now, and it's going to highlight the young men and young women who were born and raised here, who went to school here, who now work in their city. So that's something we're going to show you guys, and then hopefully when Omar does his end of the year presentation, it'll show some highlights, and we're going to focus on those young men and young women that are now policing their city. So I think it's going to be pretty cool. But I just want to publicly say that they are, I mean, nobody's perfect in this world, but man, when something happens in Deltona, they are on it, and pulling out all the stops. Katie, thank you for feeding Omar this morning, by the way. I just want to let you know I didn't miss that. So with that, Carla, you want to talk juveniles, and then we'll go, Paul, we'll get you up and running with narcotics. You got to push the button, Carla. It's not that hard, you know, even though you don't need a microphone. She couldn't see this morning. That's why we got those two dresses on.
Yes, that is correct. Juvenile crime is down, but sadly, violent juvenile crime is up, and they are gun-related charges. We don't know how to get the message out, as the mayor was stating, to the parents and people about locking your cars, don't leave your guns in the car, and this is the result of what's happening. And it's not just in Deltona, Volusia County. I oversee 4 counties, Putnam, Flagler, St. John's, and Volusia. It's happening everywhere in our areas with these guns and kids. And sadly, another county had a homicide right after we did before the end of the year. So we're seeing lots of violent crime with juveniles. Far as the kids in Deltona, sadly, they're picking up felony charges. And parents need to understand that in the state of Florida, felony charges do not go away when you turn 18. You're going to, at some point, have to justify why you got arrested for a felony, whether you get a job with government or you're trying to get a state license. So parents really need to talk to their kids about the seriousness of felony charges.
You want to do me a favor? This is probably one of our bigger Christmases, so we can end this on a positive note with you. You want to talk about the stuff that we're able to do in the city and beyond with families for Christmas?
Yes, we also partner with Commissioner Maritza for your
Who was confused by one of the kids to be Scrooge, which I was kind of interested in that. Not Scrooge, I'm sorry. The Grinch was what they confused that one kid confused you with.
We
Glasses sliding off your nose there? I saw it.
We took 35 families shopping at the Walmart in Deltona, and again, we saw food, clothes, blankets, towels. It wasn't toys. It was basic necessities that a lot of us probably take for granted that we can get. And each family received $300. Then we had the big toy drive, Deputy's Toy Shop, and District 4 can tell you, or Deltona can tell you, they had lots of bicycles and bags to deliver to lots of families throughout the city. And then we also partnered with your Three Kings event and donated you several toys to help with that event. So on a positive note, throughout the county, we helped over 1,500 kids, and we possibly had some families that came to our food drop that we did in November with the Jewish Federation, because there we gave out over 3,500 bags of groceries to help people get through the holiday season, including $40 gift cards to Walmart to get a meal for Thanksgiving.
I appreciate that. Thank you for that. Paul, you want to talk about narcotics? Carla, that's easy.
Paul Cameron, captain over
special investigations, which includes the crime center, domestic security, and narcotics. So for the 2025 period, the overdose task force adopted 27 cases that were related to overdoses. Only 15 of those were fatal overdoses, unfortunately, which is in par with 2024. Countywide deaths did go down a little bit from 179 to 139. 2 of the current 15 OD cases are currently being reviewed by the SAO for manslaughter charges. For Deltona narcotics cases, specifically, 2025, the detectives worked 194 cases that resulted in 109 arrests. Total narcotics value seized was $351,000 worth of narcotics. They also conducted a couple of vape nicotine ops with over 13 being not in compliance. Several planned for the 2026 period.
Is there any questions about anything what's going on with narcotics? They really were proactive with the vaping stuff to go after these vape shops, and it's interesting to read how many of them are not in compliance with the law when they go out there and do these things. Sarge, you're not going to get away with sitting back there filling in for Kurt. So you want to talk about what's coming up with hiring, and we had an academy class we're working on right now.
Yes, sir. Starting on Saturday, our latest NDT class will be hitting the street. NDT, for those of you who don't know, are the new deputies that we've hired from other agencies, so they already have previous experience. Our 9th academy class is scheduled to do the same the weekend after Valentine's Day, so there will be another wave of them coming out to start their road training phase. As far as the next academy, which I believe starts February 9th, academy number 9, they will be arriving that day. Actually, we get them the following day after HR is done with them, and they will be starting their roughly 36-week program. So they should be out closer toward the end of the year.
Julian, most popular man in the sheriff's office. Come on up here. Financial Crimes Unit, we're getting buried with things going on. So you're definitely going to ask you to speak in the microphones. If you want to take this or you want to do that, whatever you want. Feel free to grab a chair, make yourself comfortable.
Good morning, everybody. So like the sheriff said, financial crime is a huge issue. Typically involves the elderly, which are very vulnerable. We have had a huge issue with impersonation scams. People calling victims. The jury duty is out of control. We have people every day getting phone calls that they have a warrant for their arrest and they're directed to pay money either through these financial apps or Bitcoin ATMs. We recovered about $1.2 million in 2025 for these victims. The numbers are going down because we are sharing these scams on social media. Unfortunately, some of the elderly are not active in it, so they still fall prey to the scammers. But we're very aggressive. We go after crypto accounts. We go after bank accounts. A lot of these individuals that are on these scams are in the U.S. So we have been successful in prosecuting. Sheriff brings them here, meets them at the airport very often. So we'll continue that trend. The walk of shame is not going to stop. So that's where we are for 2025.
It's public record, and the scammers are then going after the families or the person who got the ticket. The scammer. Want to talk about what's going on in Georgia?
Yes, so in Georgia, it's a huge issue. These scams originate from Georgia prisons. You have inmates that are in prison for violent crimes that are doing 20, 30 years. They got nothing else to do. They do have access to computers in their libraries, and they access public records. You can go to a clerk's office and look at the docket, look at arrests. They do contact these victims on the phone, and sometimes they have a relative in jail, and they think it's real. A a lot of them also know the jargon, because they've been in and out of jail and prison, so they know what to tell them, and they sound legitimate. We've tried to stop it. We've arrested people. We've seized money, but it still continues. This is a big Georgia problem, and they can't fix it. Yeah, a lot of these people, they have relatives that are out of prison. They receive the money, and then they give the money back to these inmates.
Deltona TV to have his unit put together some kind of a, that can run on the loop all the time, talking about these things. Because, for our elderly, all they have in life is this thing. They got no other friends. And if something pops up and says, hey, you got a virus, and they're clicking on it, and next thing you know, they're out $20,000, $30,000.
The other thing is, sheriffs say, that's all they got, that's their friend, and a lot of them get involved in these online scams. They meet someone, and they get a romance going, and they get taken out of every penny they have. We had a case out of Port Orange that we went and visited the lady. She eventually sold her house and sent all the money to the scammer because she was in a romantic relationship with him, and she thought they were going to live together. And we went and visited her. She didn't think she was getting scammed. We told her she was getting scammed. We told her family, and like I said, eventually she did that, and now she lives in a motel.
Two calls. I don't know why they called me, but we talked about it. Somebody that I will not name is going to be very offended that we put him on the elderly category.
They do it to me all the time. That guy right there. Yes, the victim's kind of old. He was born in 1963. So me and George, we didn't take any offense to it.
So I received these two phone calls of somebody who was selling a car online. And it was one of our commissioners. But it was not our commissioner, right? And so one person was smart enough to realize, hey, I live right around the corner from you. Why don't I come over and we'll talk about it? And so at that point, when he said, well, I'm not home, she called me and told me what's happening. I have all the prints of the conversation they had on a chat. And she stopped. But then the second person, unfortunately, his nephew fell for it and lost $1,500. And that's when I reported it and sent you all the information and stuff like that. So unfortunately, it is happening to people here in the city of Deltona, and I just don't understand how they fall for it. I mean, it was a 2024 something car for, I think it was $5,000. I mean, and
Unfortunately, we can't explain why they fall for it. We have a gentleman out of DeBerry. We currently have 3 cases working for him. We had 2 that were working. We're trying to recover money from him, and he fell victim again. They called him again. They say, hey, we can recover some of the money you lost, which were the same people, because they knew that they stole money from him. And they called him again, and he fell victim again. And we can't convince them to stop talking to them. We only work cases that are where victims lose substantial money. The rest stay with the district, so I can't talk about that particular case.
What they do is, what they're really good at is they're able to seize the money, hopefully before it goes overseas. Now, Peter's not here, but you could talk about how we're trying to change the law, because there's a ruling out of Waukegan County that says you can't seize money out of your jurisdiction. So even though we know the money's in Miami, they're saying you can't seize that, that's not your county. Or, we know the money is in an offshore account, we want to seize that. There's a judge in Florida saying you can't do that. So we're trying to tweak the law this legislative session, because that's bullshit. you know.
Well, the second person did, cable grant. He went to Publix and sent the money. But, the other one was asking my friend, do you have, Zelle? Do you have this? And they gave her an email address, to connect and stuff like that.
If they use services, financial services in the U.S., we're able to identify them, prosecute them. If there's money left, we'll seize it. There are exchanges, cryptocurrency exchanges, that don't operate in the United States that cooperate with law enforcement, and we've seized money from them before, but now we're kind of at a standstill because of that judge in Wakulla County who ruled that we don't have jurisdiction to seize money from an account overseas or at another state or another city. So until that case is cleared, we are at a standstill.
Right now, they got us giving money back to the bad guy. So even though he seized it, and it's happened to us, it happened to Barb, it happened to another sheriff's office where they had a large seizure from a big scam ring, and because of this judge's ruling, and the attorney that's representing these scumbags, you have to deposit the money back into their accounts. Because the bad guy's saying, oh, I just woke up one day and there was $80,000 in my account. I didn't know how it got there. Really? Any of us ever wake up and you see $80,000 in your account? It gets wired in from America.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we recovered $120,000 from someone in Hong Kong from a foreign exchange, and this attorney from Tampa, she goes after all these crypto scammers. She contacts them and says, "Hey, I can represent you, and you can get your money back." That's all she does, and she's been successful because of that ruling. Because when the judge rules that you can't do this, you can't seize money from overseas people, then all these agencies are back off because they don't know what's going to happen from that point on.
So there's a bill in the legislature to correct that. And it was drafted by Julian and our legal folks and trying to get we have the sponsors in the House and Senate. Just want to kind of say, hey, slow down here. That we're going to make it a law that you can't. We have the right to seize that stuff.
You know who's sponsoring the bills?
I think it's Partington.
That I don't know.
I think Partington has it in the House. I'm not sure who has it in the Senate. But we did a presentation, they're like, hey, we're on board with this one.
Right. And the other thing, we talked to the ex-speaker of the House yesterday, we had him at our CompStat meeting, is all these Bitcoin ATM machines that are all over the place, in gas stations. There has to be a limit on how much money you can put in. We have victims that go in there and put $20,000 with no limits whatsoever. So I talked to him about that, and they're going to try to do something about that as well.
So I would ask, whoever does your production, if they can get with us, maybe there's something we could put that you could run on TV. Maybe you guys can get with them and produce it, and figure out how you want to do it. Because we've done movie theaters, we've done mailers in the water bill, we've done God knows how much on social media, and
I think that's a great
for some
idea.
reason,
Just
the
do
word-
like a series and different topics each month and just.
Run it. Just keep on running, and hopefully somebody sees it and says,
Who would be working with our side?
we'll get Andrew and the financial crime unit to work with your folks. He's got to do something. I mean, seriously.
And he knows Catherine, so
He does, he's made it to 12 years, he's dying to show you. We've been going to narrow it down a little bit. It opens a long time.
well, he knows Catherine, he can call her and.
All right, well, you got it. You guys can work on it, Andrew.
Yep.
We'll see if we can get that up and running.
You guys have any questions? I will keep them.
Have you guys thought about, they have on social media those scam busters, and what he's talking about is very legit. They had an older lady depositing $30,000 into a Bitcoin machine. These anti-scammers were hacking the scammers from India, and they caught the lady who was about 12 miles away or something like that, and prevented her from making that deposit. Maybe stuff like that would also promote, so, I mean, I'm not saying go all out like that, but maybe something like that would be great.
I don't know the details of that case, but all the cases we worked, we haven't had a case like that where someone in the U.S. will go and try to meet with the victims. All our cases are either another state where the victim, the scammer is another state or overseas.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. We're looking forward to 2026. A lot of good stuff happening. Yes, Liz?
I just have, I know somebody's on their way, because he wants to say something to the sheriff's department. But, Carla and the sheriff's department, I want to thank you guys for, the toys that you donated for the Three Kings.
Thank you.
Franklin is the president of the Hispanic Chamber, and, we were so grateful for everything that you guys sent us. There was no space to walk up there with all the people that came and the children that came. So thank you so much, and we look forward to it again next year.
Well, I just want to tell you, I want to cut you off, but Carla said, Maritza wants it? Hell no. And the chief said, oh yeah. Maritza gets whatever she wants. I don't want to throw her under the bus, but it was the chief that made it happen.
Since she did that, I want you to know that she said that she wasn't going to drink any coffee because you won't let her take any coffee.
She doesn't need any coffee. Right. The other day, she was sitting in my chair in a meeting. I said, I'll sit in the back of the room. You got it.
I told her 3 times to get out of that chair.
She did, right? And the other thing is, again, with the shopping with the sheriffs, thank you so much for, choosing Deltona again. I was also impressed to see a lot of carts full of food instead of toys. So yes.
You guys are always the anchor. Always.
Yeah.
You do it east side and west side of the county. You guys are always going to be, the west side of the county is always going to be Deltona.
Thank you so much. Well, we appreciate that. And you see how nice this time they had, breakfast and stuff for you guys out there, which, they were really good about it. I want you guys to bring back your graduation ceremony. We haven't had one in the center for a while.
We'll do class 9. We're doing 8 in the land. Class number 8 graduates January 20th in the land. But we'll have Carl do this class that's going in. We'll do it the center.
Okay, we'll give you a discount.
Thank you for that.
And then the other thing is, I was hoping Pastor George would be here, but I know you guys are closing up. This, we had a call, I had a call from some residents. And thanks to Captain McKnight, he allowed us to meet with some of your staff. And Lieutenant Omar and Sergeant McKnight came over to meet with some residents who were having very difficult trouble with a resident who was threatening them, and I'm not talking about one. I know that we were upstairs, we called a meeting with this HOA, and we were upstairs, there was 3 people upstairs, and I was like, this is it. And then Lieutenant Omar says, we went downstairs, thinking he was downstairs, you might want to go downstairs. So I came downstairs and I said, oh my God. I think we must have had about 20, maybe over 20 people in that room, which was a good turnout. And I want you to know that they're so happy and so thankful because whatever they did worked. The guy moved out of the house that wasn't even his. They sent us videos where he was very violent. He even attacked a Vietnam veteran, calling him names, saying, I will kill your dog and kill you too. And I mean, he even said Vietnam veterans are a bunch of faggots, to be honest, with that video. So thank you so much, both of you, for going out there that same night, confronting him, and taking care of the problem. I know Pastor George was on his way, but he probably won't make it, so I'm just speaking on their behalf. And I'm going to tell you, when you see a room full of residents that come together, and all they want was, for somebody to hear them out and just go to person that's attacking them, tell them stop, and that's what they did. So thank you very much. And
Thank those guys, but I'll tell any of you, is if ever you have an issue and you can serve breakfast or whatever, Lieutenant Bello will be there. He will solve your problem in a heartbeat. There's a way to do it.
He just drank water that day.
Just right with it.
No, we didn't have any donuts, just water. But, I mean, I'm gonna tell you, these residents, they could not be more thankful. And they were like, we wanna come and say thank you to the sheriff's department because we hear so much negative coming from residents.
I think it goes to what we said, you said inside the sheriff. I don't want people to think I'm working in Deltona as a punishment. We want people to want to work here because it's a great city to work here. You know, Omar wants to be here. Sergeant wants to be here. Everybody in this room, they want to be here. Nobody's like, well, no, I'm going to go to Deltona. Because people lining up wanting to come to Deltona.
And their actions says a lot. I mean, we were like, okay, so let's sit back and see what's gonna happen. I got called the next day, they were, oh my God, they had the sheriff's card right there last night. I mean, the same day that they came and spoke, so thank you so much. You have no idea what you did to this community.
Good. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, morning, everyone. I know some of you, but I'm Commissioner in my hometown, though, and I just want to say thank you so much for keeping Deltona safe. Thank you for everything you do. I appreciate it, and the community appreciate it, and that's all I wanted to say. I'm just amazed by this report.
Do you want to talk about the person you let hang out with you?
Who's that? Who are you talking about? My other half?
Yeah.
County Councilman Davis?
Yeah, no relation to her.
No relation. We sleep together. We're no relation. But no, in all honesty, from my heart, thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, I love it. I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So
It is.
thank you all. Keep doing what you're doing, man.